What is going on, guys? DragonTamerBlayde here, back some more Elder Scrolls Legends, and today I'm here to talk about the November monthly reward card. It has been revealed. So I'm going to toss it up on the screen real quick, then we'll move the web page out of the side, card will appear on the side of the screen, and we'll talk about my thoughts and some possible synergies. So, here's the card first. Whoa, that's too small. There we go, that's what she said. Frenzied Alit is here. It is a 1-cost, 1/3, with the ability when Frenzied Alit takes damage, it gains +1/+0. So, I like it. This card is very interesting. I'm going to walk through why I think it's very interesting. First things first, 1-drops. There's not a lot of good 1-drops in the game. It's one of my biggest beefs with the game. It's one of the reasons why everybody says the ring is so amazing. It's because most of our 1-drops suck. So, we're going to take a look at Frenzied Alit. I believe, and we're going to confirm right now, Frenzied Alit will win, trade with, and stay living against every single natural 1-drop in the game outside of Encumbered Explorer, I believe. So, first, Ashlander Zealot, obviously it wins. This can only deal 2 over the course of 2 attacks. Frenzied Alit will be a 3/1 actually at the end of combat with Ashlander Zealot twice. Covenant Marauder would win if there was no cards in your hand. Easy wins right there. Mortal Watchman, easy win. All these easy wins. No problem. Our boy comes out on top. So, next. Blood Sorceress, dead. Brutal Ashlander, dead. Potentially to take him out with a lucky last gasp, which in the early game, you'd assume it's a 50-50 at worst between Face and Frenzied Alit. But that's still not a bad use of your Frenzied Alit if that 3 damage doesn't go Face. Crowned Quartermaster, dead without the dagger. Ghostgate Defender, flat out dead without the Exalt. Nib and Bag Cutthroat, dead without no enemy creatures in the lane, but if they're trading, there's going to be an enemy creature there. Scroll Seeker, dead without the Treasure Hunt activation. Aldmeri Patriot, probably the best 1-drop at contesting Frenzied Alit. But even then, goes up to a 2/3. These guys still wind up trading with each other in the end. Cannonball Sapper dies. Solitude Stored winds up trading in the end. So that's a not bad 1-drop to contest with. But you're seeing, like, there's very few, if any, 1-drops in this entire game that can battle Frenzied Alit and come out on top. There's, I think, so far we've seen 1, maybe 2 that would trade. And not Thornwall Terror, although Thornwall Terror with a beast mode would do it. But Iliac Sorcerer and Encumbered Explorer are the only other 2 that can trade, and Frenzied Deadly Draugr. So we have all these 1-drops in the game, and I think there are 4 of them that can kill Frenzied Alit. All the rest of them die. But that's just not the key there. The other key is, when it's done with combat with most of the 1-drops in our game, Frenzied Alit has enough attack to kill almost every 2-drop in the game as well. So, if it kills a, let's say a 2/1, which is a common stat line across 1-drops, Frenzied Alit will live, it'll stay alive as a 2/1, and then as you're looking across all of these 2-drops, a 2/1 trades into most of them. Not all of them, but trades into most of them. And that's if it traded with a 2/1. Let's say Frenzied Alit traded with a 1/3 and came out on top. Frenzied Alit ends as a 3/1, and a 3/1 is killing, I think, every single 2-drop in the game as a 3/1. I think there might be the one Orc that's a 1/4. That's the only one off the top of my head. Obviously, Wardcrafter and other cards with Ward. Mournhold Trader survives. Murkwater Witch survives, but combat-wise, I think Mournhold Trader, a Ward card, and Faroon Defender. Oh, okay, there we go. Bloodkin, Catapult. There's a couple in purple. But nearly every single 2-drop in the game dies to a Frenzied Alit that has survived combat once or twice. So now we've got a 1-drop that has pretty good stats. 1/3 for 1 is not bad. Usually it's just that it doesn't stay alive too well or doesn't trade well enough to make an impact, i.e. Chaindaw Sapper. But we've got solid stats. a scaling or escalating ability, which helps it trade up with 2-drops as well as taking out all of the 1-drops in our game pretty much. So that after trading, you've got yourselves a 2-2, a 2-1, potentially a 3-1. I think this is a pretty good card for aggressive decks. I don't know how many 1-drops they really want to run, but that's just flat out combat-wise. We're not even talking about playing this turn 1 with the ring with a Dagoth Dagger or a Steel Scimitar, or this is a great early game target to Rapid Shot Cycle. Turn this guy into a 1-cost 2-2, draw a card, although you're expending a card as well. Great rally target in the early game, although you're not going to really want to do that, but I'm more looking at Steel Scimitar, Dagoth Dagger. This is a great Fighters Guild Hall synergy card. Now taking damage gives it +3 attack, so a Rapid Shot turns this thing into a 4-2 for 1 plus a card. You got some pretty awesome synergies there, man. Like, I really like a lot of the things it can do. Sword of the Inferno makes this card a 4-1, which isn't great, but it also pings something in the early game. So we've got cards like Green Pact Ambusher and Greystone Ravager that are 4-1s that see play. So Frenzied Alit winding up as a 4-1 that deals 2 damage to something still isn't too bad. And the 3 health means that it's going to survive the sword's inflicted damage, which is pretty key for an early game creature if you really want to trade or take out your opponent's Skulk or something like that. I think that becomes pretty key. Obviously, all types of buffs are great on Frenzied Alit. But even just the self-damaging warrior deck. You got your Pyromancers, you've got your Firepot Spider, which isn't that great, but you've also got your 3-cost 2-5 guy, Fearless Northlander, plus your Fighters Guild Hall. You've got a lot of things that you can do between buffing and self-damaging that I think the deck is getting pretty close to being more playable. But the biggest thing I'm excited about is just the fact that I think this is a playable 1-drop. You're not going to shove this into every single deck. I don't think there's enough early game cards being played to warrant this. But I think that there's quite a few more aggressive decks, or just decks that want to get on the board early and fight for the board with creatures instead of actions, to where I think that Frenzied Alit could definitely see some play in, if not tons of decks, at least a few decks. Like, this and Morrowind Aspirant are 2 1-drops that I think I feel pretty good about dropping onto the board. If they eat and execute, they eat and execute, but other than that, they have the ability to be kind of resilient on the board, deal some damage, you know, continue to poke your opponent. There's a lot of really good things you can do with this Frenzied Alit. So that's just off the top of my head some of the more obvious synergies I was thinking about. If you got something like a Regenerate on this guy early game, he could maybe stick around for a while and be pretty annoying. But that's not as likely as some of these regular, you know, Scimitar buffs, or just playing this as a quality 1-drop to push some damage, maybe self-ping yourself to buff your damage up, do stuff like that, and really just kind of get your presence on the board early. Make sure you have those 1-drops that you can play. Get out in front of some of these decks with the ring and not feel so bad about it, considering most 2-drops can't kill you from full health anyway. Not most, a fair amount, I would say. A fair amount of 2-drops can't kill you from the board. So even if your opponent starts ringing things out, there's a decent chance that Frenzied Alit can, if not flat out trade with those 2-drops, at least contest them enough to where you don't feel so bad about the situation you find yourself in. So yeah, that's just some quick thoughts I had about Frenzied Alit. I think it's a really cool card. It's a card that I'm excited to experiment with. And I think it's a card that might break through into some meta decks. The meta at the moment is very much a Greed Warrior, Conscription, Tribunal Control, and then just tons of aggro to combat those 3 decks. So I think some of those aggro decks you could definitely see Frenzied Alit in, and I'm sure there's some other combo-y type decks, or like that self-damaging warrior that we talked about, that could potentially run this card as well. If not as a mainstay in the list, I think they'll at least experiment with this card early on, and I could see it sticking around in 1 or 2 of those lists as well. Plus, I think this card is a perfectly solid, if not pretty good, arena card that I would probably draft a fair amount of the time, just because arena's very much into curving out, fighting for the board, dealing damage, stuff like that. So I think Frenzied Alit could do a really good job on that front. But that is going to be it for now, guys. Let me know what you guys think about Frenzied Alit. If there's any synergies that I missed that you guys are looking forward to using, let me know down below in the comments section. And yeah, that's going to be it for now. Thank you all very much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.